Welcome to the Behind the Girl Boss podcast, where every woman's journey takes center stage. Join us in this safe space as we explore the ins and outs of business, career, mental health, the music industry, and more. Whether you're a go-getter or a dream chaser, we've got stories for you. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok for an exclusive backstage pass. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and entertained. Welcome to the ride. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to the podcast. Hello, hi, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. It has been a while since I did an intro for the podcast, so bear with me. I'm literally recording this on my phone. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm going to get it together soon, I promise. I've just been traveling for so long. Well, not for so long. I've just been traveling on and off for the past month and a half. And I'm traveling again literally next week. So it's just been a mess, but I promise when I get back, like it's gonna be better. I promise, I promise. Let's just jump right into today's affirmation. Today's affirmation is I choose to let go of all anxiety and embrace a sense of inner peace. I feel like that's something that I really need to hear right now and something I need to do and take my own advice from. So I choose to let go of all anxiety and embrace a sense of inner peace. I'm really excited for you guys to listen to this episode. I recorded it a while ago, so I had to go back and like listen to what I was saying and like everything. And I was like, damn, like this was actually a really fun episode. Um, Today on the podcast, we have Anita. Anita is a business owner and also a world traveler. We spoke all about what it was like losing her mom at the young age of 15 and how that kind of affected her life and how she moved forward in life. We spoke about what it was like to buy a one-way ticket to the UK and moving there and building her life from basically nothing. We spoke about what it's like starting your own business and travel blog, what evergreen content is, and basically how to make Pinterest a way to grow your business. This was a really interesting conversation and I really hope you guys enjoy it. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to the podcast. We have another guest with us. Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
Yes. So, hey everyone, my name is Anita. I am a double business owner, multi-passionate entrepreneur, love all types of businesses, and consistently thinking about what's my next business, which can be a little bit overwhelming. But yeah, so I started my first business when I was 19 years old. So that was 12 years ago now. And that was a travel blog, which I still have today, a full-time travel blog. And that brings in automated income basically on autopilot without me having to do much except for write content, update that content, and occasionally work with brands that I love as well. And then my second business I started in 2019 and it's a course creation business. So I help coaches, course creators, service providers, and I teach them how to bring in more evergreen pieces of content like evergreen marketing such as blog content into their business so that they can have more free time, more freedom, and not just relying on like social media or just relying on their email list to, bring in, nurture, and convert those dream clients. So, yeah, I always say that my number one like passion or motto is you can be rich and you can be rested at the same time.
Yes. I love that.
I truly believe like you can be time rich, you can be financially rich, you can be just rich in every way of your life, but you can also build a really incredible business and be rested at the same time. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I love that. Before we dive into all that, I like to do a little hot seat segment to kind of just break the ice and know little fun facts. You actually answered one of them already. It was, do you have a life motto that you live by? And we got to that one and I really like it. And it's the first time I ever heard someone say that one. The next one is if you could pick up and move anywhere right now, where do you think it would be?
Oh, good question. Okay, I'm obviously a traveler at
Yeah.
heart, so I have a list of like 100 countries that I want to see at all times. Um, oh gosh, I think it would be Thailand.
Oh my
Oh, I love Thailand. It's like one of my favorite places. More specifically, Koh Samui. Like just love the island vibes and the food and yeah, I just love it. I I'm originally from New Zealand, so that's where my accent comes from, but
God.
I'm actually living in Albania right now on the Greek border. So I love where I live now.
No, I love
But
that.
If I had to choose, it would be Thailand. Yeah.
I love that. And then the last one is who's a celebrity or creator that always keeps you inspired?
Oh, I'm gonna say it's a creator called Brittany Saunders. Have you
Okay.
heard of her?
No.
Okay, so she's a Australian, she was a former YouTuber,
Okay.
um, really big on YouTube, and she was great. And then she created her own business. It was called Fate, and it's a clothing business that's inclusive of all sizes. And I just think like you have to check out her Instagram.
I
She's just
will.
so real. She's raw. She's funny. And I just love the way that she runs her business. She's very inspiring. I love it.
I would definitely check her out. But talking about social media, Instagram and all that, as like creators and stuff, we do share a lot of our lives online. So something I like to ask people is what's something that you do for fun that many people may not know that you actually do?
Hmm. I love to, I love to do many things, but I think one of the things that I always find myself doing is like tinkering away at my little balcony garden I've got going on. So,
Love that.
yeah, I love like, although I'm not great at it, like I kill plants all of the time. So it's
Me
not,
too.
it's not the most productive, but yeah, I love just doing a bit of gardening. I feel like, I don't know, it feels so peaceful. It's not like on my screen or anything.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
with, yeah, just me doing something different. So yeah, I really enjoy that.
I love that. And growing up, did you always envision yourself in this like business digital space, or did you have like a different path in mind?
I definitely didn't think that I would have the businesses that I have. Um, when I was younger, I feel like looking back at it now, I always had a sort of like entrepreneur type um something in me, right?
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, I used to make like these little bracelets and then go to the market and like sell them. I would always be thinking like, what can I make and what can I sell at the
Hmm.
local market? And I would only be like 10, 11, 12 years old, like, selling these things and making these really cool creations. So I think I always wanted to start a business.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what that was. And I actually studied interior design.
Okay.
So, kind of like in the creative, space. And I also wanted to do fashion as well, like fashion design,
Hmm.
creating that type of thing. But then I fell into this travel blog and it's another form of creation,
Yeah.
right? So I think, yeah, I've always been creative and always wanted to own my own business. I never wanted to work for someone else and have that very rigid schedule, right? I wanted
Hmm.
to have total freedom to do what I love to do. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No. And so a big life change that happened to you was at the age of 15 when your mom passed away. How did the loss of your mom kind of influence your perspective on life as a whole and your like goals for the future?
Yeah, I mean, it was such a huge event in my life,
Yeah.
and at 15, I didn't know what that meant or what that looked like until I was around, it was about when I was 18 years old, and I was talking to one of my sisters, and she was like, Anita, you need to get out of this small town. I'm from a very small town in New Zealand, and there's not a lot going on.
Hmm.
Um, and I was trying to deal with my grief as a teenager, and I had no idea like what anything meant
Yeah.
anymore. And she said to me, you should start traveling. Like you should go on your big, overseas adventure, like she did when she was younger. And she brought me home these like travel pamphlets from the travel agency, and it really inspired me to book a ticket. So I booked a one-way ticket to London, left New Zealand when I was 19, had no idea what I was really doing. But I knew that I needed to get out from where I was.
Yeah.
And so that was just my first mission is to like go see the world and have something else to really focus on. And that's when I started traveling. And that life-changing event, it definitely, once you lose someone close to you, whether that is a parent, a friend, another family member, it really puts things into perspective in terms
Yeah.
of time. Like we have such a small amount of time in our day to day, in our week, in our year, and we have no idea when it's going to be our time as well.
Yeah.
That's just the truth of it. And so I knew that I wanted to, every day just to do something that I love to do and go and experience life to the fullest extent. And so, yeah, I look at life very differently these
Yeah,
days. And yeah, it was a big, big life-changing
for sure.
thing. Yeah.
And at such a young age, what
Yeah.
prompted you to go to like the UK? Was there something about that specific place?
Yeah, it was visas, I think,
Okay.
from memory. Yeah. So as a New Zealander and being young, it's really easy for us to get like a working holiday visa.
Okay.
And so, yeah, when I was researching, that seems like a really easy option, right? Although it's literally the other side of the world from
Yeah.
New Zealand. But yeah, that seems like a great option, like a first start. And when I got there, because basically I started my blog when I think I was 18, and it was more like an interior design blog because that's what I was studying
Yeah.
at the time. But when I started traveling, I turned it into a travel blog and I started writing about like different experiences and guides and things like that. And yeah, and then it turned into a travel blog. So yeah,
Did you usually travel like alone or did you travel with friends, family, or was like solo stuff?
it was mostly solo. I had a couple of friends that were in the UK at the same time. And so we would sometimes do weekend trips to
Okay.
like Spain or France because the flights were like so cheap. It was
Hmm.
like golden days of traveling. Like it was so great. So we would sometimes do trips together, but mostly I would go solo.
Okay.
So I one of the best and like most challenging trips that I did was I went to India for 6 weeks and I traveled alone for the whole six
Okay.
weeks. And it was very intense, but it was like one of another like really life-changing moment because I was like, if I can travel around this country alone and I can figure it out. I can do anything.
Yeah.
Like I can go anywhere. And it was a real catalyst to some of my other travels that I did as well. So yeah, I love solo travel. I think it allows you to really spend a lot of time by yourself and
Yeah.
really get to know yourself. Like it's great and it builds your confidence so,
Hmm.
so much.
Do you think
Yeah.
all the traveling was like a big factor in you dealing with like grief and just coping with the loss?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I think it was good to focus on something different and see how other people live all around the world as well. Like it really widens your scope of thinking.
Hmm.
And it definitely helped me on my grieving journey for sure. I met so many other people who also had lost, loved ones, and they were kind of on a trip to really get to know themselves again. And I met so many great people during my travels. So yeah, definitely.
I love that. And you spoke about this a little bit already, but you do have two of your own businesses. For each of them, what like kind of pinpoint when you're like, okay, I'm going to do this and like kind of do it full time and not have something else in my corner?
Yeah, I think for my travel blog, I actually remember like the specific moment for this business. It's so crazy. So I wrote a travel guide to, I
Mhm.
think it was London or some other place around in Europe. And someone left me a comment and they were like, oh my gosh, I love these travel guides. You're really practical in the way that you write things. And it sounds like when I read it, it sounds like I'm reading a letter from a friend
Mhm.
and like giving that personal, recommendation. And I was like, oh, okay, yes, I definitely need to do this. Like I can do this. Because there was a lot of the time that I was kind of second guessing myself.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself a writer. Like even these days, I'm like, I did not go to school for writing.
Yeah.
Like I think I failed English when I was in college. Like I was not a good speller. I'm not good at grammar, none of that. But I did really enjoy it and I love
Hmm.
to help people in that way. And so that one comment from someone definitely was a catalyst to me continuing to write and grow my travel blog. And then for my coaching business, I feel like I don't know, something in that business, I was just like, I knew that I needed to
Hmm.
do it and it was going to work. So there wasn't really like a moment where I was like, I'm going to do this full time because it was just sort of like a second business that I
Yeah.
started. And I was like, I'm just going to like go fully into this. This is going to be awesome. I know that I can do this. And I just showed up with so much confidence and just, worked really hard to get to where I am today. Um, and just put so much into it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And you talk a lot about evergreen content. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, can you give us a little brief description of it and how it kind of differs from other content?
Yeah, so evergreen content is basically content that doesn't expire.
Okay.
It has a like a long lifetime value. So, for example, if we are looking at an evergreen piece of content, it could be like how to grow your coaching business, for example. That could be a really great like content topic that you could
Yeah.
talk about that could be relevant for, months, potentially years. Some of the information may need to be tweaked,
Mhm.
after a year or two because the industry changes, but that is a very like evergreen piece of content. And then we also have evergreen type like platforms. So when I'm thinking of evergreen platforms, I'm thinking mostly of a blog, because when we post a blog post to a blog, it doesn't expire. That content piece lives on your website for months, years. Like I have blog posts that still bring traffic and leads and sales that I wrote and published in 2016. And I just go into those blog posts and I update the information, and it's really easy to do that. So evergreen content is great for any type of business owner
Mhm.
because you're creating content that doesn't expire and that can easily be updated if it does or a part of it expires. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people, even for YouTube, like I know it's a little bit different because you can't really go in and edit it, but people always say like for YouTube content to try and create content that people will always be searching up because it'll never be old. And like even if it's from 8 years ago, people still watch it. So I do think that like it goes across like a lot of platforms. Let's say someone is a creator on Instagram, for example, how would you suggest they kind of use this evergreen content like marketing strategy with content that you can't go in and edit really? Like, do they make new posts or like how does that work?
Yeah, so if you're predominantly on Instagram, what I would suggest is you can take your best pieces of content from Instagram and you can create a blog post
Mhm.
about it. Um, in terms of like content topics, like evergreen content topics for social media, I definitely think about some content topics that won't expire after a year and will still be relevant to your audience. So, yeah, you want to be thinking about like what content is going to really last a long time, especially if you cannot edit it. Like you're not going to edit an Instagram post, but maybe people will find the evergreen content piece, find it really relevant and helpful, and save it for later, and maybe
Mhm.
they'll come back to it. And then with blog content, yeah, obviously it's really editable. And so you can take, those really great Instagram posts that have done well with your audience. You can take that and you can repurpose that into a blog post and elaborate a little bit further. And the great thing about this also is you can link to that specific
Yeah.
Instagram post, as well. So you're growing, or you're pointing people to your socials as well.
Yeah. And do you have any advice for people who are trying to kind of figure out their brand identity or their specific niche on social media platforms?
Yeah, this is a good one. I think what is your mission? Like what are
Hmm.
you all about? I think that is something that's um, really overlooked, I think, or people don't think too much about it. Like why, why? Why did you create your business? Why do you want to teach the people that you want to teach? Why is this important now? Like, what's the why behind what you want to do? I think like I've had many different niches and
Hmm.
many different Instagram, bios and things like that. But it all came down to, for my coaching business, it all came down to, one thing is um, becoming rich and rested. Like, using evergreen marketing, using platforms like Pinterest to drive automated traffic and leads and sales to your business so that you can have more free time, so that you can spend that time growing other parts of your business or even just taking the afternoon off. And I think that's when my, niche and brands became really strong, is when I looked into my why
Yeah.
and really went deep into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were talking about bios on Instagram, and I think that's something interesting because sometimes people don't care about them or like they think it's like not important. But I personally like whenever I go on a new person's profile, I'll read their like bio and stuff. So, do you have any advice in that aspect, like how to make like one that people are going to be interested in?
I think don't be boring. Like
Yes.
I see so many Instagram bios that are just like the same,
Yeah.
like you've just kind of you've taken someone else's bio and you've just put in like a couple of different words. I think if you really want to have a great bio, and that's not just with Instagram, like any
Yeah.
other social platforms out there, like be interesting. Whether that is like have a motto or like have something that you truly believe in, and bring like a spicy type of angle to your
Yeah.
bio, like something that someone hasn't heard before. I think that could be a really great strategy for a bio. Be
Yeah.
different, don't be
Yeah.
boring.
No, I agree. And talk about Pinterest.
Mhm.
How would you say like Pinterest is like a unique social media platform? Because like when I first got on Pinterest, I literally just used it and like pinned stuff that I thought was cute and stuff. But
Mhm.
nowadays, so many more people are talking about using Pinterest as a way to drive traffic and sales in general. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Pinterest is such a cool platform. I adore Pinterest. So Pinterest is it's a search engine. It's more of a search engine than a social media platform. So what you want to be thinking about on Pinterest is, what are people typing into that little Pinterest
Hmm.
search bar? So when you think of like, what is your ideal client typing into that search bar, you can go on Pinterest and you can like take a guess, and you'll
Yeah.
see loads of other options and ideas and content from creators like within that niche as well. And so when it comes to Pinterest, what you want to do is first like find out what your ideal client is, typing into that search bar. And then you can basically create content on Pinterest within that realm.
Okay.
So the great thing about Pinterest is they encourage you to point to outside platforms. Like you can point to your Instagram, you can point to your website, like specific blog posts, you can point to your sales pages, like lead magnet pages, all of that type of thing, like YouTube, podcasts, like
Yeah.
you can point to anything. And I think it's such an underutilized platform, because people are just chucking content on there
Yeah.
when it can be a really great platform to really amplify the content that you're already creating. I could talk forever about Pinterest because it's such an underutilized platform, and most of the time it's not used properly as well. Like in terms of the SEO like aspect of it, the
Yeah.
search engine aspect. It's a visual search engine. It's like Google, but it's way prettier. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I always like whenever I'm looking for like outfits I want or like I don't literally anything, I always go on Pinterest and I'll type it in. But I've personally never used it in a way to promote my own businesses. So I'm definitely going to look into that more. I know there can be videos and pictures on Pinterest. Is there a specific one that like performs better from like your point of view?
Yeah, so I have experimented with both,
Mhm.
and from my account, photos, like graphics. So a photo that has a title on it
Hmm.
that points to a blog post specifically, those convert really well. But what I would say is test it. So, there are tons of different niches out there, and this can really depend on what niche you're in. So, what I would recommend if you're starting Pinterest is experiment and be a sort of like creative scientist. You could do half videos, you could do half, graphics, like a photo with some words on it. And see after 3 to 6 months what is converting the
Hmm.
best, and then do more of what's working, basically. Um, Video can do really well on Pinterest because it kind of stops the scroll. So when someone searches on Pinterest, they're shown a bunch of different content, and the content that is video, it really stands out
Yeah.
amongst the sea of content, right? So I would definitely experiment with both for
Mm.
sure.
I love that. And so, being someone who owns two businesses, likes to travel, maintaining a social life, and all these things, how do you kind of balance it all? Do you like plan out your day to day? Do you do like time blocking? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, so okay, I'm not gonna lie, running two businesses is a lot.
Yeah.
Like it can be a lot. And I'm always thinking like, oh, what is the third one that I can add? I'm like, no, Anita, like just stick with the
Hmm.
two. So I would say if you want to be a double business owner, or you are currently, and you need to figure out a better way of doing things, I think one of the biggest things is having, first of all, being organized, right? So everything has its place, because you don't want to be like searching around your Google Drive or your Canva
Yeah.
folder for documents and photos and things like that. So be organized and have some sort of systems in place for your business. One of like the best things that I did was sign up to Asana. I'm not sure, do you
Yeah.
use Asana? Yeah.
I don't use it, but I know what it is.
Yeah, it's great. It's a project management system. This is how I systematize, organize everything in my business. And now I have a team of 3 people. So I have a tech VA, a operations VA, and also a marketing coordinator. And with the system that we've created in Asana, they are able to find anything in my business, know how to do every single task in my business, so that if I want to be like, hey guys, I'm going to take, Friday off, they can jump in and they can take over
Hmm.
any task, which is it is just incredible. But
Yeah.
even when I was a solopreneur, so when I was just handling these two businesses myself, I still used a system like Asana to organize everything, because it helped me to know exactly what I need to do day to day in order to achieve those bigger goals. So definitely Asana, if you haven't signed up to it, just try it out. It's great. So that definitely keeps me organized and like know what I'm going to be doing day to day. And then another thing I will say is time tracking has
Hmm.
also been great. Um, I started time tracking, I think it was mid last year, and I time track like every part of my day. And it's not to be like micromanagey or really like dig into the nitty gritty, but it's really great to see at the end of the month like where and which areas am
Yeah.
I spending the most time or the least time in. And I can take that information, and then I can improve my businesses
Hmm.
in a way that I wouldn't be able to if I wasn't time tracking. Like, um, for example, let's say that last month business was slow, and I can have a look at my time tracker and be like, how much time did I spend in like marketing,
Yeah.
or getting on podcasts, or getting on my Instagram stories, for example. And if it's a small amount of time, I can be like, all right, well, let me do more of
Hmm.
that next month. And then, so
Yeah.
yeah, it can be great,
Yeah,
time
that's a smart
tracking.
way to do it. I never like thought of tracking it like that to kind of see month to month, but definitely should incorporate that into my own businesses. But the last question I have for you, it's a little fun one, but it is basically, do you have any upcoming travel plans?
Oh, yes. Okay. I was just talking to a friend today about this actually. But yeah, I really want to do some sort of road trip. Maybe it won't be a road trip. We might just be busing it. But
Hmm.
we want to do a trip to Bosnia, and down to Kosovo and maybe Greece. So it's kind of
Oh
near where
yeah,
I am at the moment. But I love the Balkans. The Balkans is such a great place to travel to. So much culture and history. So, yeah, we're thinking about doing a little like 2 week trip in the summer
that'd be very
around there.
fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be good.
Well, that's all I have for you today. So thank you so much again for coming on and sharing all this. Before you leave, do you want to shout out any of your socials where people can find you, where they can work with you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always great to chat and have these kind of conversations. So yeah, you can come connect with me on Instagram. I'm at anitadykstra.co. I know that that last name is difficult to spell, so I apologize. It's my Dutch side coming out. And then yeah, if you want to learn how to work with me, you can visit my website, anitadykstra.com. So yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I really do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to go follow Anita on all her socials. Go show her some love. If you want to follow me, please don't be shy. Please follow me. You can follow me either at Behind the Girl Boss or at It's Amanda Wan. Check out my YouTube channel, It's Amanda Wan. I post maybe every week on there. We'll see. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to rate the podcast wherever you're listening to it on, subscribe, all the good things. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye, guys.